Shemai friendly and welcome back to my channel. My name's CaitlinAnwyn for anyone who's new here, and let's get back into building in Planet Zoo. And today I'm going to be starting a Western Chimpanzee Habitat. I wanted to include the Western chimpanzees to go with the West African lions and the Western lowland gorillas. This habitat is technically just behind the meerkats, you can see, but I wanted it to be in the general area of the other West African animals. And I was having a look through the Zoopedia, trying to get a bit of inspiration to build for this habitat because I wasn't really sure what to do until I found this fun fact and everything just clicked into place. The chimpanzees have been observed collecting fermented alcoholic sap from palm trees in leaves and drinking it. They seem to enjoy alcohol, and when an alcohol source is discovered, they will return to it. So I was like, perfect, I'm building them a pub. I wasn't sure whether to do like an African style bar pub, but I thought it'd be fun to build them a British style pub. It was the first sort of thing I thought of when I read that fun fact, so that's what I'm kind of going with. And this is probably the most I've ever used the classic style base game items. I'm going to try and make this build as base game as I can and try not to use any of the Africa pack items in this. And it's a little bit of a challenge, especially because it really doesn't fit in with the style of the whole zoo, but just around the corner from this is a Pokemon Center for fennec foxes, so sometimes I just completely ignore the theme and the whole style of the zoo to build something fun instead. And after trying to focus on the safari habitat, I wanted to do something a little fun. The image in my mind I had for this is obviously a British pub, and I wanted it to be Tudor style. Googling it has come up with the same sort of thing I was thinking of. Perfect, it's Tudor style. But basically I wanted it to look like it belonged in a Sims world called Windenburg, which is the get-together expansion pack world. And I couldn't help but keep thinking about how easy it would have been to build this pub in The Sims compared to Planet Zoo. If you're newly watching my videos and new to my channel, I did used to play The Sims quite a lot. It's a lot more difficult to build in Planet Zoo, and I kept thinking about how easy it would have been to even get this general layout in The Sims. Like, it's just a click and drag action, not like 20 different wall pieces, but it just kind of felt so familiar to build something like this. It's quite nice to build something in a British style for a change. I've not really built anything like this before. I've focused more on the theme of the pack, the DLC that we are playing with. But because this was so tricky to build and I wanted to add in lots of details to make this feel like a proper pub, this video is actually going to be split into two. For this video we're going to have just the exterior of the pub. I will make this into an actual habitat right at the end and put some barriers around this pub, but I focus more on the building itself in this one. And in the next video I'm gonna be doing the interior and making this a proper habitat for the Western chimpanzees. But don't worry, I have checked whether the chimpanzees can get into this building once I had finished the whole thing. Wouldn't recommend that either. Don't spend 6 hours building something without checking whether the animal can actually use it. I did kind of have a few heart palpitations at the end. I was like, oh, I haven't checked. Playtest. Oh my goodness, playtest. But I just thought it was so funny that chimpanzees like alcohol and will look for alcohol in the wild with like fermented sap, and once they've found it they'll come back and drink some more as well. I thought that was hilarious. Cheeky little chimps. But I don't have a name for this pub yet. I know I want it to be something that has like monkey or chimpanzee, something like that in the name. But I was trying to play around with names that follow the same sort of rule that British pubs have. Sometimes they have like animal names or something like the something arms. The pub in EastEnders. If you're not from the UK, it's a British soap opera, which is the Queen Victoria, the Queen Vic. And for like Coronation Street, they're all kind of the same thing, which is the Rover's Return. So I was trying to like play around with words, like maybe like a play on words like monkey bars, which is like the climbing thing, but it's literally a monkey bar. I don't know. You'll have to give me some suggestions for the name of this pub in the comments, but it might be funny to try and fit the theme in with like monkeys and the themes for pub names in the UK. But I wanted to do like a bay window on one of the sides of the pub, which was trickier than I actually thought it would be. I used the octagonal glass shape, I think that's what it was called, from the classic style. And I started off with it being in the same group, following along with the same grid as but then I had to take it out of that grid because it wasn't lining up with the wall properly. It was going diagonal. So I split it from the grid and rotated it so it would lay flat like a bay window. But the pub was just a little too tall. Putting it into perspective next to the open air food court for the sacred scarab beetles, it just felt too tall and too big. I needed to shorten it a little bit. I like the layout, but it was just too tall for the rest of the zoo. I thought about moving it to a lower part of the map, like lower part of a terrain, but I thought I would just shorten it. Instead of it being 4 tiles high, I would lower it down to 3 tiles high, and that will take it down 2 meters, like 2 tiles down. So it's basically the same building, but I've shortened it. It's a little stumpier now. So it fits in better with the rest of the zoo and it doesn't stick out so much, especially because this style doesn't really fit in with the rest of the zoo as well, because it's this classic style instead of the African style. I thought I would move the bay window too. Instead of it being only on the lower level, I tried to make it so in between the brick and the limestone, because I was planning on making this part of the building 2 stories. I thought I would get through this a lot quicker. In my mind, I would have everything done in 4 or 5 hours, but actually this exterior took me 6 hours to build. So unfortunately, I couldn't actually complete this habitat in one go. This window was a little bit of a pain to do, especially because I tried to make it sit in the middle of both levels of the building. So it was a little bit squiffy. But it felt too stumpy just at the bottom level. Now I had shortened the heights of the walls. And a thing I would really love to have in Planet Zoo is walls that are like skinnier than the main walls that we have. So we have like the 4x4, the 2x4 and the 1x4. But I would like 2x2 or like 1x2. 1x1s, because some things, like, you can replace the walls with panels which have like the slimmer, skinnier shapes, but most of the walls are only the like 4 wide and then they get like shorter. I want something that's like not so wide. It would probably be a big update if we ever had anything like that, because I'm not sure whether anything like that was ever included in Planet Coaster. I haven't played Planet Coaster much. I won't keep my hopes up for it or anything, but it would be really cool to have something that was less than 4 meters wide. And the windows in this game are not see-through and very small compared to this really large building. So I was using the classic glass pieces as fake windows and splitting them from the group so I could line them up nicely into the walls so the glass wasn't clipping through the main walls of the building. And I also lowered the pitch of the roof. I cut that bit out because it's basically exactly the same as what I did in the first place. And once I had lowered the pitch of the roof, the entrance or main center part of the building looked too wide, so I had to like play around with some of the roof pieces as well. I ended up changing the front roof piece from like an A-frame to the more squared off roof. Kind of took a little bit of the height down as well, so it didn't feel like it was towering over the rest of the buildings. I think I just got way too fussy. But after changing the shape of the building one last time, I think this is the final shape now. I played around with the windows a little bit more and decided to put a feature window at the top of this center part of the building and elongate the bottom windows and completely get rid of the opening for the windows at the top, because the top part with this limestone is going to be the Tudor style. So we're going to have brick on the bottom and the Tudor style wood paneling at the top, which we will get to. So I wanted to completely get rid of the openings for the top part. And now onto the Tudor paneling. I'm using the classic style planks of wood for the majority of the Tudor paneling. To space out the panels evenly, I used a 1 meter size like a wood panel, so each one has a 1 meter space in between the panels to make sure they're all even. That's a handy tip that I put in my tips and tricks video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put that in the iCards. Is something I use quite a lot. I like to compare one item to another to make sure that they are evenly spaced when something is not placed on a grid like these panels. And I kept thinking how easy this would be to do in The Sims. Like, this would just be one wallpaper, click and drag and it'd be done. But no, not in Planet Zoo. But in Planet Zoo, I have full creativity and I could make any pattern I wanted to. So I'm going to show a few different patterns. This main part I wanted to be the most intricate because it's the front of the building. I wanted this bit to be the most detailed, and I wanted to make sure that the whole building had different patterns of paneling on them, because most Tudor style buildings don't have just the same pattern over and over again. And I'm actually using the same colour for the wood that I use for the other wood pieces throughout the zoo, the weathered wood pieces, but these ones just aren't weathered, so they feel a little darker. I did want to include some windows on this top level, but these ones are going to be like the false windows, the ones that illuminate in the dark. You can't actually see through them, but they do light up in the dark, which I thought would be nice. And they're a lot smaller too, and I can just place them on top of this pattern. I'm really happy I did a conservatory at the back though, because that really helped a lot with a little bit more of a dimension into the shape of the building. But I wanted to vary the paneling a little bit, so I kept the same size paneling, so like the 1 meter space in between, but then I wanted to change up the pattern on each one, so I wanted some to be more simple. So I'm gonna quickly show you clips of each different panel that I'd made, because this obviously takes a long time. It feels a little bit repetitive because it's a lot of the same sort of thing as placing down wood pieces to create these different Tudor paneling patterns. So I made some window panes around all of the glass panel windows. I changed the colour of the glass panels as well to the same brown shade as the panelling, so it would fit in nicely with the top of the building. I did try to keep some windows white so they would fit in nicely with like the conservatory. I'm not sure whether I like the pattern that I created. I was trying to make an interesting diagonal pattern. I'm not sure whether it worked. I think it looks a little off balance. I might have to play around with that one a little bit, but I did try to do like arrows, like chevrons, so one pointing up, then one pointing down, and then following that pattern. I might go back and change that. You'll have to let me know whether it looks okay. The entrance of the pub was probably the trickiest thing. I knew the animals couldn't get through these Planet Zoo doors from building the Pokemon Center. I wanted it to look like the doors were open to the pub, so I just put them at a diagonal and put a pillar in between so it looks like the doors could actually close. Not sure whether they would actually fit together, but these were the only doors that sort of fit the shape of the entrance and were also flexi color, so I could recolor them. So we haven't done any of the interior, but I will be doing that for Wednesday's video. Just had to split this up a little bit. My plan for this is to, because I haven't done it yet, I will be doing it. My plan for Wednesday's video will be to make an interior, like the bar for the pub, maybe some tables and chairs. Also tried to make some things climbable for the chimpanzees' climbing requirement, so they can climb all over the bar and stuff like that. I think that will be fun. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Please leave me some suggestions for this pub name. I think it'll be really fun to have like a little collab. Let me know what you think in the comments as well. Do you like this British Tudor style pub? It doesn't really go with the African theme for this whole zoo, but well. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and if you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!